Welcome, everybody. My name is Dewan Sharp. I am a career coach here at Michigan Works, Southwest in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Today, you are present for our adult financial literacy workshop series. Today, the topic for the series that we're going to be touching on is saving for your future. The presenter today is Mike from Comerica Bank. I will pass it along to Mike so he can tell you a little bit about himself and we can get going.
All right, thanks, Dewan. So this is Mike Demeiler, an external affairs market manager here at Comerica Bank, and I want to thank everybody today for joining us. I apologize for late being start here. Unfortunately, it's not going to be quite an hour. We're going to have to be finishing up at 2:30 today, but the material that I'm covering, you will be able to find. I'm providing Dewan the PowerPoint and participants guide that everybody can have. And if you have questions on some of the material, please let him know. He'll get back to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer questions on the material. And we're going to be going, and we'll see what we can get done. So thanks, everybody. So we're talking about spending and savings plans. And so the key takeaway, of course, is we're going to be wanting to figure out, because this is what I call a key component of our financial literacy for individuals. As an adult, you want to take away spending and a savings plan to manage your money. And as things get more expensive, it becomes more important to have a plan to help save those times, because there's times when you don't think you're spending money, but it happens, and it's I call it poking a hole in your bucket, because you put in your money in your bucket that you earn, and then you have taps on it that you turn on and off to make payment to your. You take that budget that you've set up for yourself, and it's a hard thing to do, and we all struggle to do it. So, the building blocks of the spending and savings plan is, of course, you're going to compare your income to your expenses. You got to understand where your money is going to make adjustments to your income and or to your expenses. Of course, income is money you receive. Expenses is, of course, your outgoing. And I always tell folks there is a lot of different ways to create that spending and savings plan. And it's basically talking about budgeting. And so the first section is, when you think about creating your budget, is where's your income coming from? Put it all together. So if you're getting paid bi-weekly, that means you got 26 pay periods in the year. I tell folks you added all that up and divide it by 12. That will tell you what you're going to earn, basically for 12, every month. Some folks like to just say those extra pay periods in the first half, one in the second half of the 13th pay periods. That's an extra pay period that I am not going to put into my budget. That's going to be something that will help become a builder towards savings account and or debt reduction. Or maybe that's the money I'm going to use for my holiday, my vacation. I'm not going to budget for it. I know that I'm going to have this extra pay period in July. I don't think the extra pay period in July is this year. I think it's in September, October. And that's when I take my vacation. So that's when I have my extra paycheck. I get 3 that month. And then the expenses. You want to remember, when you're creating your expenses, it's not just your needs, your rent, your car payments, your utilities. You got to factor in food. If you're driving a car, your car insurance, and you might pay your car insurance monthly. You might pay your car insurance every 6 months or annually. You got a couple choices. You might pay your car insurance, but you got to make sure that you put those bills that you pay differently than a month into that monthly budget, because you won't plan for it, you won't save for it. So all of a sudden, if you forget to put your car insurance in your monthly budget, because you only pay it every 6 months, and you come up to that 6 month, you don't have that money saved. You will not, that will bust your savings account if you've been putting money into your savings account on a regular basis. So one of the key things I can tell folks is when they're creating and tracking their expenses, carry, either through your phone, putting notes on your phone when you spend, how much you spend, no matter what you spend for. If you buy candy bar, you write it down. That's the only way to keep track of where things are going. To help you do that, so that way you can complete a total picture for yourself. And so that way you can look at, this is my expenses for the month. This is what I'm going to be paid for the month. How do I make those balance? The idea is having a balanced budget. And the balanced budget is also having and including a portion for savings. Pay yourself first. And it's a hard concept to do because we're all procrastinators, right? We're always going to put $5, $10 in our savings account. But you know what? When later happens, that's when your tire blows and you have to replace your tire. Now, if you systematically made a savings, you would have that money set aside. Just for everybody's knowledge, I believe the statistics say that out of the population, only 40% of the population has $400 in a savings account for an emergency. So you can see the huge gap of people that don't have any emergency money saved. And when I talk about emergency money, I'm not talking about your retirement account that you might have to put money aside for your 401k. That's separate. That's not emergency money. That's long-term money that you don't want to ever have to use for other things. So when you get to the, looking at balancing, are you at zero? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? How do you make adjustments? And that's a really hard thing to do. Now, here in the participants guide, it's going to give you an idea of the story, and I'm just unfortunately going to have to go past it for time reasons. But I can tell you as a story, and I'll use my daughter as a story. When she started and moved for her first job, she had to keep track of, number one, what was her rent payment going to be every month? Because she moved out of the house. So it was no longer the bank of dad. It was the bank of income. So her income was going to be X per week based on the hours that she worked. So now she knew she needed to have $750 a month for her rent. She knew she needed to have $400 a month for car payment. She knew she needed to have a certain amount for her insurance. And as she learned what her income, because her income went up and down because she did not have a straight 40-hour-week position, it would be 32 hours one week, it might be 36 hours the next. So she had to adjust her income fluctuations to her budgeting. And so the idea is, by taking these notes over a 30 or 60-day period, she could see those fluctuations and plan for the future, because certain things in your budget are always going to be static, meaning they're always going to be the same dollar amount. Your rent's going to be the same dollar amount. Your car payment's going to be the same dollar amount. So what things are variable, meaning what can you control in the value, meaning if I use less electricity and less water, my electric and water bill will be less, right? So I read some statement said that 10% of our electric bill is based on vampire. When they say a vampire, they're talking about components that are in our houses that are constantly running. And some things you have to have run, like refrigerator, right? That's going to be a constant. You always want your fridge to run because you can't turn it off. But look at, if you have a dial on your microwave, it's always on. It's always taking a power draw to tell you the time. Same with your stereo system. If your stereo system has the time on it all the time, it's always on. Same with a lot of folks, they leave the computer on. So those are constantly drawing electrical charge. So if you unplug them, not just turn them off, because they'll do draw even when they're turned off. If you unplug them, you rob them of the ability to take energy that you would have to pay for. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot of money. Maybe it's $10 that adds up to a month. But you know what? That $10 turns into $120 a year. You know, that's a car tire in my book. And so, you know, an example would be I've started now to unplug my iron in the house because it's always got a little light on it. And it means it's always drawing a charge. And it's those kind of things that we need to think about sometimes, small things that can help us. That drip that's in the faucet. You know, if you're a renter, call your landlord to have them come fix it because you're paying the water bill. That drip doesn't seem like a lot, but over a period of time, it adds up. So those are simple things to help kind of balance out that income to expenses to drive that expense down. So, you know, always review your expenses for the month to see if you're trending up or down. You know, they talk about prepared taxes. This would be, when you think about this, if you're doing a job like Uber or Eats thing where you have a monthly income from those kind of organizations, they're going to pay you a 1099, and they don't withhold on those income taxes that you're going to have to pay to the IRS. So you're going to need to keep track and prepare for those taxes by saving money out of that income. And a lot of folks don't think about that. You know, when you save more than, you know, than your goal is, say your goal is to save $10, $20, $50 a month. And I always tell folks, start small and work your way up. You know, if you're not saving anything, start with $5 a week. You know what? $5 is a coffee in today's environment. I even hate to say it, but $5 is 1 gallon of gasoline, right? You have to figure out how to save 1 gallon of gas a week. And then when you have that success, you know, celebrate it. Put a star on the calendar, something that says, hey, I made my goal. Positive, I would say positive reinforcement is the best reinforcement to help us be successful. Of course, you can always look at increasing income. So there's a lot of folks I know that will go to garage sales and buy stuff and then open an eBay store and sell stuff through eBay. As an example, I have a friend who does toys and he's very good at it. And you know what? He enjoys it. So if you're doing something to increase your income, make sure you're going to enjoy it and you treat it like a small business. So the goal is to make money. So you don't want to do something like that. You go to a garage sale or, if you have a garage sale, you advertise it. You want to make sure when you do a garage sale, your advertisement, you make more money than you spent for an advertisement. Of course, you can look at workforce development, help create job skills, but make sure that when you're doing that the programs you're going to use are going to be beneficial, and and that the cost of the programs are going to come back to you in the increase in wages. So an example would be if you are a forklift driver, and I'm just making this up, so I apologize. And there's a class you can take that's going to teach you how to be a truck driver, right? And you're making $20 an hour as a forklift driver, but it's going to cost you $10,000 to learn how to be a truck driver, but they're only going to pay you $1 more an hour. Is that a very good benefit for the money that you're spending? So you want to make sure that you have, the money you spend is going to be significantly impacting you positively on your bottom line so that you can pay that debt that you acquired, plus increase your standard of living. which is not an easy thing to do. Unfortunately, I have stories of friends who went and got themselves a PhD and spent another $40,000 and $60,000 for an education, and their income went up $2,000 or $3,000. Really wasn't a good, cause and effect. Of course, I talked a little bit about, needs and wants, try to do adjustments and do without. If you have regular cable, the old adage, if you have regular cable, can you go from the package you're in to a package that has less? And or if you're not really watching cable, except for maybe ESPN Sports, can you pick up like Disney Plus? And is that something that they offer in Disney Plus? I don't know. But I'm just saying, is there a way that you can pick up what you're watching through cutting the cable and or just going to the digital antenna? I'll be very honest, I cut my cable. I went to digital antenna, so I only have antenna, but we picked up 3 of the services like Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus, which is like $40 or $50 for the month. And I'm saving $100 a month because I'm not doing cable anymore. So I saved $1,200 in my pocket. If you still have a landline, and I'll be honest, I'll raise my hand, I still have a landline, so I'm still paying $60 a month. And my brothers always laugh at me because they go, we're saving $60 a month or another $720 because they just have their cell phones as their main lines. So I always tell them when we lose power and we use my landline one time every 10 years, I'm going to charge them $720 for one time use on my landline. So think of ways to decrease your spending, again, thinking of ways to save, so when money is short, you always want to prioritize which bills to pay first when your money is short. So it's always helpful to be very careful when you plan. There's no clear-cut examples that I can give you to say pick this over that, because everybody's situation is different, right? Housing may be different, your creditors may be different. It may be easier to tell your credit card company you're going to be 15 days late versus, having an issue with your landlord, right? The credit card company will not put you to the curb with all your belongings, but your landlord will do that if you don't pay your rent on time. So, prioritize those things that you need to have, right? Another important thing is, if you're making car payment, and your car is the only way you can get the job, that has to be high on your list of priorities to make a payment for your car and your car insurance, because that's how you make your income to pay for those other things, meaning rent, food. So looking at that, then of course reach out that for help if you're having a problem by prioritizing or creating a budget. There's folks out there that will help you. Pay attention to the consequences for paying partial bills or paying late. Understand what they are. Like I said, you don't want to jeopardize, things that are important, like shelter, drive a building if you need to drive. And you know what? I've pretty much gone through the entire session here real quick. Yep, it is. I'm already on page 24. So when you think about, what will you do? How will you do it? If you have somebody you can share a plan with or talk to, have them help you with ideas. And I got a few minutes to on, so I'm going to open it up for questions.
All righty, thank you for that. Do we have any questions in here or anything? How many questions on saving, spending, budgeting that we can ask Mike? And those who are attending virtual, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself to ask or even put the questions in the chat. Mike, it looks like we have no questions.
All right. I apologize, and I'll make sure that the person who's scheduled next time is here on time for you guys.
That's all right. We understand things happen, and we appreciate you taking the time to come through and do this for us. Okay.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Again, I appreciate everybody and your participation. Look forward to seeing you. I won't see you, but everybody else. Somebody will be here to talk to you guys in 2 weeks.
All righty. Well, thank you, Mike. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thank you, sir. Take care.